Right. I am going to go through defending a close hold or a close full hold since some of you have asked for it. Couple things. Apologies in advance. Just bear with me. My throat is a little bit iffy today, so if I have to pause, I apologize. Second thing, what I'll do is I'll just go through some general things at the beginning, just so that if you just want some general tips, you can watch that and then stop watching. And then the sort of second half of the video, I'll go through some specifics, looking at some VODs, looking at some maps and stuff like that. Okay. Cool. So general tips. So I've put here sort of 6 things to consider. So we'll just go down the list. Now, these aren't in any particular order. It's not in order of importance or anything. It's just, it's just there. So play for picks, pretty self-explanatory. Look for a pick on the enemy. Now, there are sort of what you call like a priority of who you want to pick. So if I just type that out quickly. Okay, so the best person you can remove from the enemy team in this situation is their main healer. So terminology is very important here. I will come back to that one in a second. Next will be the main tank. 3 and 4 could be a bit interchangeable, but this is just my personal opinion. So the next one would be your off or your flex healer. Then it would be your off or your flex tank. And then, apologies DPS players, but you're such low priority. Now, in fairness to the DPS, there are some compositions where killing the DPS is pretty high priority. Like in a Bastion bunker comp, you want to remove the Bastion pretty quickly, because if he stays remain set up for a long period of time, he's more likely to do damage to your team. So there are like a few instances where this sort of priority list will swap and change, but in general, this is kind of like good to remember. Okay, so main healer. So don't confuse this with main support and flex support. They're not the same thing. The terminology is completely different. So the main healer is, as it says, it's the person on their team who's doing the main bulk of the healing. So the main healer in Brawl, for example, will be BAP, but BAP is the flex support. So there's an example of where the terminologies don't necessarily match up. So look for the main healer. Just think who is doing the majority of the healing in that composition. Double bubble, it's Anna. Okay, that's really crucial and really key to get your head around. Basically, the reason you need to understand that is because if you remove the main bulk of their healing, you remove the main bulk of their sustainability, being able to sustain a fight and stay where they want to be. Defending close, defending like at spawn, this sort of thing is all about tempo and sustain, making sure you can stay in this position for as long as physically possible. So removing their ability to do that is going to be absolutely key in actually breaking it down. So main tank, why is the main tank really good to get rid of? Similar in a sort of way to their main healing, that it removes a lot of their sustainability. Now, the main tank doesn't provide so much sustainability, although they do provide shields normally, but it removes kind of like their core, their anchor. If you want to get through to the rest of the team, you've got to go through the main tank, which is difficult. That's why they're the main tank. and also it removes their sort of their ability to posture and maneuver with little risk. If the main tank's not there to block some of that damage whilst they're in their sort of like mini rotations, they're going to be a lot more exposed and a lot more vulnerable. Okay, so off/flex healer, pretty much the same as the main healer, essentially. Yep, get that healing off the board. If they've got less healing, huge. Often they have, some utility as well. But again, remember, it's healer, not support. So you have to remember that. So for example, let's use the Brawl example again. Your off/flex healer would be the Lucio. He doesn't provide as much healing as the BAP, but he has speed boost. And again, that kind of feeds into, it removes their ability to sort of posture and maneuver around the map easily. And you take that away, they're a lot easier to break down. So that was just a specific example for Brawl. That's not necessarily like a general thing, but it was just, an example to get your head around it. And off and flex tank, this is basically remove their damage mitigation, remove, again, their ability to sustain. So, for example, D.Va Defense Matrix is the bane of everyone's life. It's so powerful. If they're playing Sigma, removing that shield and his grasp is huge. The rock as well. He's got CC. He's got everything. That's why he's really strong. Zarya, remove those bubbles from the field. Zarya's projected bubble might be the difference between you getting a pick and you not getting a pick and then putting yourself in a risky position. These sorts of things. So yeah, remove that sustainability from the team. And then last is DPS, get rid of the damage. And again, there are some nuances to this with composition dependent things. But anything like that we'll go over individually. Cool. So there's sort of your pick priority. I'll leave it up there just so it's there as a reminder. So going back to the general rules, so play for picks, absolutely. If you pick their main healer, now this is the crucial bit. If you get a pick on someone, especially any of those sort of top two priorities, the instinct then is to go for the kill, go in. Don't do that. Just take a second to assess the situation, relax, think about what you want to do, think about what's going on, think about what they might have. Ults are very key here. Now, obviously, if it's the first fight, they're not going to likely to have them on. But say, for example, you pick their main healer, you've just increased the likelihood that they're going to ult on you now. Because if they don't ult on you, you're more likely to kill them and, win the team fight. So they have to do something in response to that pick you've just got. So take good time, think about it, assess what they might do in response, form a plan around it. Now, you should kind of already have done that in the first place, but if you haven't, do it. And then also just take the time to make sure you have all the resources you need to go into the next sort of phase of the fight and try and look to win that fight out from there off the back of that pick. So number 2 here, play for trades. So this is actually a really important thing to understand. And it kind of contradicts one of the other rules, number 4 there, playing to stay alive, but it is important to understand. So playing for trades, what does that mean? So say you're playing a monkey comp and the monkey dies into the backline, kills their Ana, and then the monkey dies in turn. Now, you've just made the team fight 5v5. They don't have their main healer, but you don't have your main tank. You're actually at a huge advantage right now. Why is this the case? It's all to do with spawns. So if they're defending close, it means they have super, super long respawns. Now, obviously, the respawn time doesn't change, but it's the time for them to get back into the fight that changes, and that is massive when the defending the defending team is defending close. So their respawn time to get back into the fight is absolutely massive. Yours is tiny because it's basically the 10 seconds or whatever it is to respawn, and then you're back in the fight straight away because you're already there because the fight is taking place just outside of spawn. So again, if like in the example we used, if your monkey goes into the back line, he kills their Ana, but then the monkey dies in turn, that's absolutely massive. And as a team, again, take your time, react to the situation, be like, okay, we've got a trade here, let's just relax, get our main tank back, and then we can take the fight 6v5 instead of 5v5. And again, just be careful about what they might do in response, because again, a good team will look to use ults to win the fight outright, so that huge long respawn doesn't matter. So number 3, play for ults. Pretty self-explanatory, that one. You can play slow, play tactical, play to get some key ultimates online. So if you're running double bubble, for example, you want to get your nano online, maybe your barrage or something, grav, these sorts of things. Fight winning ultimates, because once you've used them, you win the team fight. Chances of them, winning are very low, sorry. And also, you've just broken the full hold, and it just goes into like a general sort of map from there. What I would say is, be careful about how much you commit if you have to play like the full map. If it's like, if you've defended close yourself and you don't have to push the cart very far, then obviously you can commit as much as you need to. But if you still have to push the rest of the map, just bear that in mind with like what you're actually committing to the fight and what you're play for however many fights ahead that you need to actually take to win the objective. Now, number 4, this is the one that I said contradicts slightly. So play to stay alive. So basically what this means, and it's the same in general for Overwatch anyway, but here it applies massively, because if you die needlessly here, you're taking time off your clock, because your team has to wait for you to come back, which the time is absolutely key. That's the reason that generally someone will defend a close hold, is to get as much time off your team as possible, so that you have very little time to attack the rest of the map. That's generally the reason why someone will defend close. Obviously, there are cases where, again, you've defended close and you've held them really close to the door, so they don't have an option to do anything but hold close. But yeah, generally it's to do with time. So if you get picked and you don't get anything in return for it, so you don't trade or anything like that, that's really bad for your team, because that's essentially now 10 seconds, 10, 12 seconds wasted for your team. So make sure you're not dying needlessly. There needs to be some sort of intent to everything you do. Cool. Number 5, play for triggers / advantages. So this is going to be kind of related to cooldowns, but it can mean a lot. It can mean a lot of things. So, for example, if the Reinhardt on their team is overextended, that's a trigger or an advantage for your team, because he's out of position, you can punish him, that sort of thing. But in a general sense, it's more like key cooldowns on their team that's going to prevent your team from winning the team fight. So things like BAP Immortality Field, if they're playing like Lucio and Zen and they've got their ultimate, so they've got Beat or Trance, if they use that, then they don't no longer have that as an advantage on their side of the team, and then you have the advantage now because they don't have that option. That's huge. And again, if they don't have it, just relax, assess the situation, and then utilize a plan to take full advantage of that situation. Don't try and rush headlong into everything with this. The more methodical you are, the easier it's going to be to break down a close hold. And then the last one is, honestly, I'd say the most important one. Do not tilt. If you tilt, it severely limits your thinking power and you start making mistakes. And mistakes are absolutely crucial in this. As I said with like number 4, playing to stay alive, if you die needlessly, it's taking time off your bank, and time is absolutely crucial. So yeah, do not tilt, whatever you do. If you have some sort of, I don't know, ritual to stop yourself from tilting, I don't know, like you mute your mic and you count to 10 or something, just do it. Like, because if you're tilting, even if it's just one person on your team, you may be 6v6 in the game, but mentally you're 5v6. So make sure you don't tilt. So these are sort of the general rules. These are going to help you. And I mean, this kind of works for, like I said, it works for the whole game. These kind of rules work for the whole thing, but they are super, super, super important in this situation. So yeah, just make sure you're aware of these, and you'll find breaking down a close hold will be much, much, much easier. Now, I said that I'll do like a general bit and then I'll do some more specific bits. So this is kind of the end of my sort of general section. So if you don't want to go into specifics, you can stop watching now. That's absolutely fine. But if you want some more specifics, I'm going to move on to that. So I have the VOD up here, but what I want to do is look at the map quickly and just assess like sort of what options there are before we go look at the VOD, and then you'll see very, very clearly like what's going wrong. Okay, so Havana first, pretty popular full hold spot. Seen it in Overwatch League, seen it in comp, seen it everywhere. It's pretty popular. Now there are lots of options here with the spawn. So as you can see, there's 3 spawn doors. You've got one here, another one here, and then that is a 3, I promise. It's not a J. As I said, I can't use a mouse to save my life. Okay. So think about this in lanes, kind of. So your left, your middle, and your right. So you should be utilizing the door to where you want to go. So if someone wants to go right lane, they should go out of 3. If someone wants to go main, they should go out of 2. If someone wants to go left, they should go out of 1, There's 3 spawn doors for a reason here. Okay, so you need to make sure you're using the right one to achieve what you want to. So generally the full hold tends to happen sort of like around cart, and they'll sort of like death ball here, or if they're playing the brawl, and they'll have a really tight circle, and they'll just move the circle wherever they need to, but it will be as one cohesive group. They won't split up, sort of thing. So the ball will move in wherever they need to go. So if your whole team comes out of 1, that ball's moving to 1. If you all come out of 2, that's it's moving to 2, that sort of thing. So how do you break this down? Well, multiple angles of attack is one way you can do it. So if we put this back, draw the tight circle around it. So if you don't want to match them brawl for brawl, you can utilize multiple angles of attack. So you can have like one group here, another group here, Sorry, let me just redraw this quickly and make it a lot clearer because it's getting a bit messy. Okay. There we go. So the way Brawl operates is that it can only pretty much operate in like one direction. That's not strictly true because people can turn around and shoot, but generally like the composition itself wants to move in one position. So if you're making it split up, it then becomes a lot weaker as a comp. Um, so why are multiple angles of attack good? Well, let's think about it. Reinhardt, his shield only works in one direction, so he can only angle it at one of these angles that you're shooting from. So say the Reinhardt here wants to block from the left. Cool. Well, now the people in the right lane here can now shoot from behind. Now, I know what everyone's thinking. If they're playing Brawl here, they're probably going to have a diva that's going to DM. That's fine. Honestly, it's absolutely fine because these resources are finite. They have a breaking point. They have a point where they're going to stop. It's absolutely fine. DM doesn't last very long. If she keeps DMing your damage, it's going to run out. You've got a huge window now where you could just free fire at them. Same with Ryan. Just break the shield. If you're worried about these sort of abilities, you can play flyers, which means you can get over the shields, over the damage mitigation, hit their backline directly, these sorts of things. But again, remember the target priority. Main healer, main tank. So one of those two, great targets. Now always go for the main healer first, just as a general rule. But just think, is that person accessible? If not, then look for the next option. Now, if you need to break the shield first in order to get to the next option, that's absolutely fine. You do that. So yes, attack from multiple angles, because as you can see, the Brawl's now having to split its resources, which it really doesn't want to do. It really wants to keep its resources in one angle, in one area, because right now it's not getting much value, because it's having to overlap its resources. Again, it doesn't want to do that. So yeah. Also, now that's if you don't really want to go Brawl v Brawl. If you do want to go Brawl v Brawl, again, you can do some multiple angle stuff, but you don't want to multiple angle too much, because again, if you weaken that core of Brawl, then you just get rolled over by the other Brawl that has a stronger core. So where do you want to come out of? Again, it depends. I prefer this side, just because it's easier to get around the walls on this left-hand side than it is the right and the main. It's very, very easy to get walled off on main, and it's very, very easy to get walled off right. So here, if you want to go for the Brawl v Brawl, your walls are going to be super important. So make sure you're looking for those. Make sure you're acknowledging what we talked about, the triggers. So if they're in a position where you can get a good wall off, make sure you're looking for it. Make sure you try and execute it. These sorts of things. And remember, you don't have to go absolutely mental. Just run into them. Make them come to a position where they don't really want to fight in. So if you can put them in the open here, brilliant, do it. Because they've got natural cover here, you've got natural cover here, but we can just sit here and look at each other all day if we're going to do this. So try and get them to come into a position that they don't want to be in, and then you can execute from there. And again, remember, play for picks, play for trades, play for ultimates, this sort of stuff. And, play to stay alive. No one dies unnecessarily right now. Okay, so let's have a look at the VOD quickly. Now, I'm not going to lie, I don't remember this much. I have watched it a few times, but I don't remember exactly what happens too much. What I will say is you should have expected this. There's absolutely no way that you come out of spawn here and be like, "Oh my god, they're holding close," because you basically on your defense, they pushed the cart up the hill, which is pretty much for free anyway. Like everyone can do that, and then they didn't get it any further. So realistically, they have no choice but to full hold like close here because like I said, the hill is free at that point. They're basically fighting every single fight on where you need to cap it to. And they only get one fight if they do that. Now, if they hold close here, they get one fight, and then maybe they come back on quick characters and get a second fight. So there's absolutely no way that you should have not known that they were going to hold close here. Also, make sure you're scouting. You can look at the top of this window and see out. You can listen to the sound cues. You can hear people moving around, that sort of thing. Hear voice lines, all sorts. Cool. So I have just turned the sound off just because it's obviously casted and we don't want to hear the casted commentary. Okay. So right off the bat, you all came out of left door, which on a double bubble comp anyway, you really don't want to do because double bubble requires you to have really good lane control. So you don't want to come out of the same door regardless. You want to split your approach. So maybe if the pharmacy can come out of the right door for the better sight lines, but you know arguably they can come out the left door as well to have the better cover but worse sight lines. It depends on what you want to do. Then your Hanzo can come out the other door to your Pharah, so the opposite side. So if your Pharah's playing left lane, your Hanzo plays right lane, these sorts of things. Zarya and Anna should probably play with your Hanzo here. Monkey, again, as well. Go out of a different door. So you can either go main or come out the same door as your Zarya and your Anna. But the whole team shouldn't come out the same side. So that was kind of like your first mistake, apart from not scouting and not predicting that they were going to hold close here. Let's see what you're looking to do now. Because you've kind of just been sat in this spawn for a while now, not really doing much. Okay, so here's what I mean about play to stay alive. You just lost your Hanzo unnecessarily, and now you're sitting here for, like 10, 12 seconds doing nothing because you're waiting for that Hanzo to respawn. So your Hanzo's back now, or, well, it's a Kree now, but you've just wasted that time. And again, so thankfully we're in the Pharah POV here, but your team has come out of this side. So, I mean, they're playing this pretty poorly as well. They're not very, what's the word? They're not very stacked. They're quite split up. So their main defensive angle right now is here. That's the main angle. So Pharah, you should be over here spamming down on the back line, perhaps. So your team goes main because you swap the comp up now to kind of match the Reinhardt, which is fine. But yeah, Safari, you need to be playing the opposite side from your team, looking for that main healer if you can, or just any pick is fine. But remember that kind of priority. So already a few mistakes popped up. Okay, so you lost your main tank, but you've got to pick on the Reaper. Huge. Chill. Relax. Get your main tank back. Go again. You'll be 6v5. Now, if someone dies here, that's horrendous. Cool. So now you're 65, but Farah, again, you're still doing this. Kree's got the right idea, but it should be the Farah doing this. And look, exactly as I said, they're 5 right now, you're 6. They have to ult. So again, you should be predicting this. You should be tracking the ults that they have. They've used Shatter. They've used Cole. You've got a great nade off, to be fair. You've used Nano by the looks of things up here. I'm not sure who you nanoed. Can I see who we nanoed? I think that's the Zarya. I'm not actually sure who we've nanoed here. I think it's the Zarya. But like you're going to lose your Ryan here, 100%. So you should be, playing safe here, playing to stay alive, because they've used ults. So this is fine. Again, play for ults. They've just used 2 of theirs. You can get 2 of yours online. You've got a better economy. You had the Nano, but you've just used it by the looks of things. You're coming up on Grav soon. You've got Barrage. You've got Valk. You'll get Shatter real quick. You might get Kree ult next fight, but you'll definitely have a fight afterwards. You've got a lot of options right now. Cool. Again, we've traded. The best thing is we've got their main healer. This is absolutely massive. You should win this here. Now, again, you've lost your main tank. Just relax. Chill. Get your main tank back. Go in. 6v5. They have no main healer. You've got ultimates. You should win this here and now. Done. Next fight, you should win. Easy. But Zarya is staggering herself. Now you're having to wait for 2 people. That's extra time you're wasting. Farah, you just used ult and you died. Mercy died. You stagger yourselves. You just lost a huge advantage you had. Now you're wasting probably like 30 seconds here waiting for all your respawns to come back. And now look, the Moira's back. So you lost the massive advantage you had. Again, Farah not playing, different angle. Okay, you have ults. What do you want to use here? You have Grav, you have Shatter, huge Shatter. There's no target focus there, there's no target priority. So no one dies from the Shatter. It was a great Shatter. Someone should have died there, 100%. And you've lost the fight. So look how much time they're taking off you with all these, with all the sort of staggered respawns you had from the fight before. This one, you just lost the fight. That's fair enough. But the one before, all you lost was the main tank, but you just decided to stay in and then stagger yourselves. So you're playing the Brawl now, but then you're also not stacking. So you have a weaker core. Look what happens. Your Rhine died. They're getting coalescence. Why we just sat behind the window? Okay. There's a few micro things here as well. Like that lamp was really, really late. But the main thing here is the team play is just it's off. You're not thinking about these general rules, thinking about how your team comp should play, these sorts of things. Again, not all tracking. And you had nothing going into this last fight, which again suggests that you weren't utilizing your ults properly because your ult economy was terrible. And then you got full hold. So now I've gone through the general rules. I've done a couple of specifics. It wasn't too in depth, but it was something to start with. Hopefully, when you watch this now, you can see exactly where your mistakes were and exactly why you couldn't break it down. You wasted a lot of time with staggered respawns. That was huge. And then you didn't notice your advantages when you had them. That was massive as well. So there was a couple of times where you got trades, but then someone died needlessly, and then you couldn't take advantage on it because that person had respawned and come back. There were at least 2 fights where you could have been 6v5, but you didn't take it. Cool. So hopefully this is a little bit useful, and if you're in this situation again, you can kind of remember and think about a little bit more what you need to be looking for and how you're going to approach it now. Cool. Well, obviously, as always, any questions, just DM me, put in the Discord, whatever. I will do my best to answer them.